Hello Internet, and welcome back to my series of film reviews. Last time we covered Hocus Pocus 2. This time we're here to talk about Black Adam, which is the latest entry in the DC Extended Universe. Now before I get into Black Adam, I want to tell you all what I think of each entry leading up to this. As a whole, the DC Extended Universe is kind of a mixed bag. It was trying way too hard to be the MCU, and it felt kind of rushed. And after the release of Justice League back in 2017, it mostly focused on solo superhero films. And then we have Joker and the Batman. And we're not going to count DC League of Super Pets in this category either. But anyway, here we go. Man of Steel is a reboot of the origin of Superman. Some of the decisions Zack Snyder made in this movie weren't exactly my cup of tea. Especially the collateral damage that Metropolis sustained in the final battle. Plus Superman snapping General Zod's neck. The pacing could have been a lot better, but it was still a solid Superman movie 9 years later. But it certainly doesn't beat 1978's Superman or Superman Returns. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice isn't really a sequel to Man of Steel. More of a follow-up where Ben Affleck plays Bruce Wayne. Upon first hearing about this casting, I was a little skeptical. But after watching the movie for the first time, I was blown away. But I still favor Robert Pattinson over Ben Affleck as Batman, but we'll save that for another time. It was very slow and the movie didn't really go anywhere during the first 2 acts. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor didn't do it for me. Plus it felt completely rushed in setting up a Justice League movie that tried way too hard to be the Avengers. Don't get me started on Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad is easily my least favorite DCEU movie next to Joss Whedon's Justice League. Jared Leto is fucking atrocious as the Joker, but I did like Will Smith, Margot Robbie, and the rest of the supporting cast. And that was pretty much it. The humor felt forced. It's just downright sloppy. I'm just waiting on the David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad to be released on HBO Max. Wonder Woman. Oh yes, Wonder Woman. When I went to see my girlfriend McInerney76 in person for the very first time back in June of 2017, our very first date was to see Wonder Woman. An absolute cinematic masterpiece from start to finish. We loved the music, the fight scenes, especially the iconic No Man's Land scene, and it was absolutely perfect. Justice League. Oh, fuck no! This movie was absolute garbage, especially the CGI mustache removal on Henry Cavill. The production on the movie was just absolute hell, and it made me lose all respect for Joss Whedon, as much as I enjoyed the first 2 Avengers movies. The jokes were awful, the movie felt rushed, and some scenes felt awkward. And 4 years later, we got a 4-hour cinematic masterpiece known as Zack Snyder's Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League went straight to HBO Max as a 4-hour movie. I obviously didn't watch it all in one sitting, but from start to finish, it was an absolute cinematic masterpiece. The characters had proper backstories, the action was more exciting, and Zack Snyder's direction is what makes this movie probably my #1 favorite DCEU movie, next only to Wonder Woman. Aquaman is mostly an origin story for Jason Momoa's Aquaman, while also continuing from where Justice League left off. And according to Jason Momoa and director James Wan, this movie pretends that the Joss Whedon cut doesn't exist, and for a good reason. Looking back, I'm embarrassed to know that Amber Heard is in this movie. But all that aside, Aquaman is a fun time, and a step in the right direction for the DCEU. Shazam! Another fantastic movie. It was actually trying to be funny, unlike Suicide Squad and Justice League before it. And the jokes actually land. Asher Angel and Zachary Levi as Billy Batson and Shazam are what made this movie one of my personal favorite DCEU movies. This was another movie I saw with my girlfriend in Oregon, and we had a blast watching it. Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. The very first R-rated entry in the DCEU. It's a follow-up to Suicide Squad, and it focuses on Harley Quinn after she and the Joker break up. Good riddance, Jared Leto. Have fun fucking up Morbius. Birds of Prey was kind of a mixed bag. I enjoyed the performances of Ewan McGregor and Margot Robbie, but the rest of the movie was all over the place, and the Birds of Prey don't come together until the final fucking act. And they say the word fuck quite a fucking lot in Birds of Prey. Wonder Woman 1984 was released both in theaters and on HBO Max simultaneously on Christmas Day 2020. I elected to watch it on HBO Max in a call with my girlfriend. While the visuals were nice and it brought viewers back to the wonderful year of 1984, the plot was all over the place. Plus I didn't like how they brought Steve Trevor back to 1984 by having him possess the body of an innocent man. But I did like Kristen Wiig and Pedro Pascal in this movie. But despite those flaws, I found Wonder Woman 1984 to be a worthy follow-up to Wonder Woman. The Suicide Squad, another movie I watched on HBO Max. This movie is directed by James Gunn, who is well known among the Marvel community for directing the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. This is another R-rated movie in the DCEU, and it completely ignores the events of Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey. It's bloody, it's gory, it's just wacky fun from start to finish. The body count is insanely high in the Suicide Squad. I loved all the newcomers, especially Knuckles as Bloodsport and John Cena as Peacemaker, who got his very own HBO Max show, which has been renewed for a second season. Now that show is just about as insane as the Suicide Squad in terms of violence and gore, and the opening dance sequence that only James Gunn could pull off. Phew, that was a lot of DC stuff to cover. Now let's get back to Black Adam. Black Adam is played by Dwayne Johnson in a role he's been wanting to play for years. He's an anti-hero who was in prison for 5,000 years and is unleashed into modern times. 5,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck! He attracts the attention of the Justice Society of America, consisting of Hawkman, played by Aldous Hodge, Atom Smasher, played by Noah Centineo, Cyclone, played by Quintessa Swindle, and Dr. Fate, played by James Bond himself, Pierce Brosnan. He's no Sean Connery or Roger Moore, but Pierce Brosnan is really good in almost every role he plays outside of the James Bond movies, all except for Mamma Mia! This is a spin-off to Shazam, seeing that Black Adam is one of Shazam's main adversaries, just as the Joker is to Batman, and Lex Luthor is to Superman. So if you wanted to put Shazam on before seeing this movie, you can. But the two movies are not connected in any way, shape, or form. Okay, enough introductions. Here's my thoughts on Black Adam. Overall, I thought Black Adam was really good, but not my number one favorite of the DCEU films. To this day, my number one remains Wonder Woman. This movie takes place in the city of Kahndaq, and Black Adam is its champion. You can tell that there's a million different connections to Shazam, but absolutely no mention of Billy Batson or his foster family. It should be obvious that there's a connection to Shazam if New Line Cinema had produced the movie, because those are the same geniuses who brought The Lord of the Rings, and Elf, and Blade, and Shazam to life. Black Adam, or as he is called in this movie, Teth Adam, befriends a young boy who basically helps accustom him to modern times after being dead for 5,000 years. In fact, you could say that they borrowed elements from Terminator 2 Judgment Day, with the boy being John Connor, and Adam being the T-800, a merciless killing machine who learns to protect the people of Kahndaq by any means necessary, even if it means a high body count. But not as high a body count as the Suicide Squad. I honestly don't think Black Adam would have worked as an R-rated movie, even though we got to see Viola Davis reprise her role as Amanda Waller from the Suicide Squad, as well as one other character from the Peacemaker series. Plus, I remember Jason Momoa saying "fuck" as Aquaman in the Season 1 finale of Peacemaker. This movie also contains Easter eggs from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, a movie that I've never seen before in my life, as well as songs I don't want to list off here. That's one thing I do after seeing new superhero films. Look up songs that were featured in said films and scroll through the comment section saying that this movie brought them here. But that's not what I want to cover here. My favorite character besides Black Adam himself is Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. He has sort of the same exact powers as Doctor Strange, but he can also see into the future whenever he touches his helmet. I also really like the rest of the Justice Society, but they don't really explain how they differentiate from the Justice League, or where they came from. They just straight up appear right the fuck out of nowhere to apprehend Black Adam to stop him from going on a rampage. And no, that was not a reference to another Dwayne Johnson movie called Rampage, which was based on the popular arcade game of the same name. Atom Smasher and Cyclone didn't really get the spotlight a whole lot, and that kinda set me off. I'm not gonna spoil the film's main villain, but the villain was just straight up bland and forgettable. I mean, I get that every DC movie is not supposed to have the Joker or Lex Luthor, but at least give them a memorable villain to go up against. That's something the DCU doesn't have the best track record with. Also, some villains are just flat out weak and are just shoehorned into the movie, just because someone in the boardroom throws out a random idea after getting drunk off of Hennessy. Because that's what clearly happened with Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, and Joss Whedon's Justice League. And unfortunately, the same could be said about Black Adam. I'm giving Black Adam a 7 out of 10. It's a good movie, but very flawed. But do stay for the mid-credits scene. That scene is worth the price of admission alone. I like Black Adam and the Justice Society. The supporting characters weren't as memorable as the supporting cast of Shazam, even though this movie borrowed several elements from Shazam. And like I said, New Line Cinema produced Black Adam, so that makes it obvious that the movie is connected with Shazam in some way, shape, or form. The villain was bland and forgettable, but I still enjoyed watching Black Adam pummel the shit out of bad guys left and right as if he was Shadow the Hedgehog. In fact, Black Adam himself reminded me a whole lot of Shadow the Hedgehog, while Sonic is more like Billy Batson. This movie was directed by the same person who directed Disney's Jungle Cruise last year, which was also the very last Disney movie to be released through the Disney Plus Premier Access program before it officially went dead. That movie also starred Dwayne Johnson, so it was nice to see the two of them working together again for Black Adam. I was pleased with how the movie turned out, even though it was very flawed. I would definitely want to watch it again once it hits HBO Max. Stay tuned for my upcoming reviews of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Disenchanted, Strange World, and Avatar The Way of Water, as well as the Sonic & Sonic 11th Anniversary Special coming next month, along with Sonic & Sonic's review of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 coming this fall/winter, and an Infinite World of Pain Part 3 coming this January. I'll see you all next time, goodbye and take care!